Hi there, it's Catherine, and today I want to talk about how DreamWork heals. I've spoken in several other videos about the fact that I believe that dreams are a really powerful source of healing, but I haven't said much about what the process actually looks like. So I want to talk about that today and give some examples from my own dream work. Okay, so I kind of want to start micro and then work up to macro. Dreams are nonlinear and they're symbolic, and one dream can have significance for different, layers of meaning. I'm going to talk sort of about the mundane, everyday health kind of stuff, and then from there, more like the wounding and fragmentation that happens over a lifetime, how this is addressed in dreams. Beyond that, there's like on the epigenetic or like ancestral level, we can see this showing up. And then on the soul level, there's past life traumas can be seen in dreams at times, and then even beyond that we see material coming through from the collective psyche. So I'll start more into personal and then get bigger kind of zoomed out view as we go along. So, what I mean, just in the everyday mundane health kind of stuff, this is fairly straightforward and can often be easily identified in dreams, but it's super helpful. A lot of times I'll see like the dream is showing me that I need to cut something out. For instance, I had a dream that a supplement that I was taking, like the bottle, just kept getting knocked off of a shelf. And so, I woke up from that and stopped taking it. That was easy one. What else? When e-cigs came out, I wasn't even a smoker, but I was kind of like, oh, this is fun. I'll get like a buzz from this thing, and it has no harmful side effects, because that's what people said at the time. And I had a dream that the e-cig that I have been using was broken in a pot, one of my house plants, and the plant was dying. And I woke up from that like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that one anymore. People are like, no, it's fine, but now we know. Um, Even things that maybe are not super unhealthy, but they're showing up. I actually was dinged in a dream once for eating kale that had been in the refrigerator too long, so I try not to do that anymore. Apparently, my body doesn't like it. And what else? Um, like, let's say that you're allergic to something that you wouldn't even really think of because it's not one of the big allergens, but you can be allergic to like cranberries and bell peppers and stuff. So, this is a good way, saving yourself hundreds of dollars from the naturopath's office to just say, like, okay, I seem to be seeing this in my dreams a lot, I need to take it out. And yeah, okay, so if you're dreaming about something, especially it's like something that you kind of know, something you really like your soda pop, your weed, your cigarettes, your treats, whatever it is, if it's showing up a lot in dreams in a negative light, then this is a good sign that you gotta say bye bye to that thing. Save yourself some trouble and just nix it. Okay? So then, next, also, you'll see in dreams, this is kind of the big thing, um, just how your life events have shaped you and how certain experiences are holding you back. We talk a lot nowadays about trauma, and that's important. And of course, I mean, that's one of the features of trauma, is that it'll show up in dreams, in PTSD. But even beyond that, when the trauma is not acute, or I think people feel like unless they experience like a specific traumatic event, then they don't have trauma. And so it's good to look more deeply into that, or at least like we could broaden our definition just to talk more about like wounding, or like fracturing, splitting of self parts, and this kind of thing that happens um, through your experiences with family of origin, or people in your life. A lot of it's happening in early life, um, but then you see it too. It can show up in dreams. You're seeing things from conception, parents not happy about a pregnancy. This affects the developing embryo, and it can show up in dreams. Um, then if there's like a stressful environment in utero, or a traumatic birth, this is very common in our country because we have such a high rate of hospital intervention. So it's fairly common that people have some kind of traumatic birth experiences. But even if there weren't interventions, there can be it's like a lot of pressure and stuff going on. So this can show up in how you arrived in the world, and how beyond that, how your parents received you. What else? So of course, like, your parents are extremely foundational, whether they were a part of your life or not, whether you had a good relationship with them or not. They're just so fundamental to who you are, and they show up in dreams a ton. Sometimes in obvious ways, like it's like themselves as a character in your dream. Sometimes even a man in a dream can be dad's influence, a woman can be mom's influence, this kind of stuff. So it's good to look at that layer, that level of meaning. And like, so wives, these are your primary caregivers. Like, let's think about you're in that sort of crucial first couple of years of life, and it's integral. Is like super important that you have this mirroring. So let's say you know your parents might have like depression or anxiety or some kind of addictions, or their own trauma or something, like, and it's so much just like a part of our society at this point. It's so much like a part of the kind of water that we swim in, that we don't even really give it a lot of thought, I think. But thinking back to that uh, first couple of years, when the wiring is really being laid down, if someone's not able to be present and warm and loving and really there with you when you're expressing yourself, and like you need to have that mirroring, that response from your caregivers. If that is not happening, it's like wiring your house. You really want to do it right the first time. That's going to save you a lot of trouble later. You can heal it, and that's kind of what we're talking about with the dream work, but it's more work. And of course, children, even like beyond those first 2 years, they need presence and love, and they need people to be mindful and attentive to them. And if they've got their own stuff going on, just like stressful lives or whatever, then this shows up. And it could even just be like parents' personality, like it'll show up in dreams in various ways. Okay. And then beyond that, you're having dreams about elementary school, high school. Dreams sometimes will point to a time in your life by showing a character or a place or something that you went at that time, or even numbers can show up. Like, let's say like the number 12 is really prominent in a dream. You can think back like what was going on when I was 12, and like what was my life like at the time, and what was hard for me, and so forth. And you can look at it that way. And this, so like dream work like this, which I think is really like the meat of it, but it's also really, you're looking kind of like at motifs over time. So I think about it as kind of like gold prospecting, where you're like digging up this material, it's like buried down deep, and then you're like bringing it out into the light and bringing it into the river and like letting it wash over, and you know the sun is shining, and you know you're catching like little glimmers, and then maybe eventually you find like the big nuggets of gold or whatever. But it's a lot of kind of just like panning and patience and looking and looking and just kind of like being a witness to, okay, this is showing up in my dream right now, for a reason. Like just kind of like take that as one of your assumptions. So why why is this significant right now? Like why is this time in my life, this experience, still affecting me, still holding me back, and like how is that relevant to what's happening now? This is a big question. And so, you know, like the nuts and bolts of it is, just first of all, you're writing the dream down. You're writing the dream down instead of forgetting it. And then, um, ideally, from there, you're not only reflecting on it, you're going back and looking at it and kind of asking these questions like, what is this? What could this mean? Why does this thing keep showing up? This time of my life, these characters, this kind of thing. So you're reflecting on it, but then also if you can bring in at least one trusted person to kind of do this work with you, you know, maybe you do it in a pair, or you could do it in analysis or therapy, um, or in a group. I got or continue to get a lot out of dream groups. So this is all really helpful. And then, I mean, you can see, I give an example of how that works, like really obviously, is like, so let's say you have a dream that's like cringe worthy kind of dream, like, sorry, but it happens. Like, let's say you have like a sexual dream about a family member. And this is, of course, we wake up from this dream and we're just like, ugh, I don't know why I had that dream, and I'm going to try to forget it as soon as possible. So that's like one way you could go. Or you could, you know, sit there and like think about it and remember all the details and then write them down as honestly as possible and reflect on it. Ask yourself why this is coming up, you know, what kind of energies were in the house, or, you know, what could this mean? It's sometimes it's not so straightforward as like that, you know, because dreams are symbolic. But then beyond that, like if you can kind of have the courage to take this to a therapist or a friend or a group, like wow, and just have other people weigh in with all their different perspectives and all the different levels that this dream could be hitting upon, like this is really good work, you know. So there's the like, oh, I don't want to look at that, and then there's like, I really want to like bring as much light to this as possible. And you know, even knowing that maybe I'm not gonna, you know, resolve whatever this is right now, but I'm kind of committing to doing it over time. So this is big. And you'll start to see change. Like I can even like, there's so many examples. If I looked at how many dreams I've had about my parents and my brother, you know, like my grandparents, these kind of key figures in my life. But what I want to say is that you'll start to see change if you look at patterns over time. Like, um, dreams about my mom have really changed over time as I have, you know, made some headway in processing that and like improving that relationship. It's like, you know, now it's like I'm at my mom's house, changing light bulbs, organizing the closets, getting rid of stuff that doesn't need to be there, feeding the animals and giving the water out because they haven't had it in a while, and you know, like cooking food and stuff, and the food's not catching on fire, and the dogs are happy, and you know, like, I mean, it's just you kind of see that. Like for a long time, for instance, I would try to change the light bulbs and they wouldn't work, but now it's like, oh, I got like 10 light bulbs working in my mom's room. And so you kind of, you can watch and see how like that gradual sort of panning process is working and helping, and it's showing up like that. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to say about that part. And then, so from beyond there, the ancestral or epigenetic level. So this is this idea that, you know, it didn't start with you. Someone can experience, pain, wounding that actually um, didn't even occur for them. Like the wounding never actually occurred to them in their lifetime, but it happened to a family member generations back. Or just like there's family patterns that are repeating in the tree, in the line. um and like you're constellating the same kind of events to bring about the same sort of experiences that a family member further back had in their life. So it's really cool, and I love this work. I really recommend to people, if it's your bag, to interview your oldest living relatives and like start looking at these patterns and like what was going on, like where was the trauma and the intrigue, and start to map it out and think in those terms of like how that has affected you. I'm actually in a process of doing that with some of my family members right now, and uh, it's kind of my last, I'm on my last leg of that genealogical mapping interviewing. And when I was doing this interview, hearing about my paternal grandfather's sister, who I've met maybe once when I was very young, didn't even really strike me, particularly didn't really like grab me. But then I had this dream recently that I was with family members, many of whom are no longer living, and I was just recounting her life story, like her achievements, and then some of like the tragedy that happened that led to her kind of demise, I guess. And it was extremely emotional for me. I was like crying a lot in the dream, and the other people in the dream. It seemed, it had that feeling of like visitation, and other people in the dream are like obviously touched and responding emotionally too. And I can't tell you like how exactly that relates, and or like a one to one, like this changed when I woke up from that dream. But I can say that it felt, for sure it felt cathartic somehow, like a release I didn't even know that I needed. So that's an example of that. um Okay, and then this one can be, so if we're talking more about like past life stuff, and sometimes there are past lives, um, like someone reincarnates and you're actually in the same family line. So this is connected to the ancestral work, but then it can also be totally its own thing. But it can show up in dreams, and yeah, I don't know. Do you believe in reincarnation, past life stuff? I do. I think there's a lot of good evidence for it. It makes sense. Many cultures across long stretches of time have believed this and written about it and maintained it. And yeah, I'm into it, and I think that it uncovering information about my own past lives has definitely helped me to have insight into my current patterns, and to be able to move in a direction that made the most sense for me in my life. So you can see it a lot of times. It'll show up as like, I call it period piece clothing, where like there's like someone that's looking Victorian, or I actually had a dream, I think this was 2 nights ago. This one could be ancestral or it could be past life, but it was like I was viewing this demonstration of like ancient Celtic tooling and weaponry, and just it had that sort of vibe. So looking for that, I guess I'll share this example. I had a dream once that I saw many things happen in this dream, but at one point I saw 6 golden arrows kind of cross like this, and it just stood out to me for some reason. I just felt that that symbol was important, and I couldn't, readily identify what it meant by looking things up. But I always had it in my mind that I was gonna see it or like learn about it later, and it was gonna make sense. So it kind of tucked that away. And years later, a friend of mine told me that he had a vision that in a past life I had been like a warrior and I had died being struck by 6 arrows. And he said it wasn't like a tragic thing or a fear-based thing. It was kind of like I was like doing what I was meant to do, like almost like my soul was level. Oh, sorry, my computer just. Okay, so my soul was kind of leveling up, and I had awareness of that in the experience, and just I immediately, when he said that, I was just like, yeah, that dream, that makes sense. And there was even another synchronicity right after that I was like, yep, that's it. So yeah, this stuff is super cool, and that's another road you can take. Um, then the last level is the collective. So I think a lot of times, we we're filtering collective energies, planetary energies, whatever's coming up in the collective mind, through our own personal experiences. And so we're kind of confused, like, why am I so irritated lately? Why can't I sleep? Why am I so depressed? And it's not too far to go to just kind of be like, well, what's going on around in the world right now? And like, is that energy prominent, in the collective right now? And you can sometimes draw a connection there that can help you to kind of break out of that and just like see it for what it is. So like, of course, it can show up in dreams as like political dreams, dreams about social unrest, but sometimes more vague, more sort of occluded. I had a dream recently that I felt, after looking at it in my dream group, was pointing not so much. I mean, yes, I think there was personal implications in there, but pointing more to just kind of this coming Aquarian energy, this kind of newness and technology and like spiritual development, but not sure if it's something that we want to welcome or not, like coldness and detachment and all of these kind of Aquarian qualities that are sort of exciting but also a little bit scary at the same time, especially like given all the sort of dystopian scenarios that we have at the ready right now. And it was not obvious until I started fleshing it out with other people that those sort of energies were present in the dream, and yeah, like weaving it together and making a lot of sense. I would say though, so okay, collective stuff totally does show up in dreams, um, but be careful about jumping too quickly to that solution. Okay, this isn't about me, it's about the collective. Like, you know, if you have a dream about Steve Bannon, and I have, and I know other people that have, um, it could be about the collective, but either it's not, or at least at the same time, this is referring, potentially to some part of yourself that is Steve Bannon like. And so at that point, you have to look at like, okay, well, what part of myself is like Steve Bannon? And so even when it is about the collective, it's all about you. And it's good to be like really like honest and taking stock of that. So I guess that's basically um, my spiel. That's the bulk of what I wanted to say, but I have to add that, so like all this process I'm talking about, doing the work to remember the dreams, to write them down, to share them with trusted others and reflect on them and like put the pieces together, the patterns and motifs over time. Like this is a really good work. And like I said, like rewiring the house is like, if it wasn't laid down right the first time, like, you really got to kind of dig in there and be careful you're not messing up this and that. And it's really like an involved process, but it's so worth it. And to me, it's like so fascinating. um yeah, do it. But okay, but beyond that, um if you can bring lucidity plus the intention for healing into a dream, this is like it can really be the gold mine, the striking gold. So I just want to give a few examples of that. Um, like for instance, I had a dream. This was very recently, where I was lucid. I was in a house that is like the woman who lived there hadn't been living there for a long time, and there was like old appliances and things didn't work very well, and it was kind of empty and just kind of cold feeling. So there's like part of myself that has been in disuse, that is now, that energy is ready to be reintegrated, and brought back in, and so really good. But let's see. Okay, but needing some work. And so something that I've been doing is I'll ask my higher self what course of action I should take in the dream. And so I did that, and I got the response, cook food in this kitchen. And so I found some red potatoes and I boiled them on the stove on the one burner that worked in this place. And it's beautiful symbolically, really simple and elegant, but it's like, this red root, vegetable root chakra, like, energy coming in to this place that had been in disuse, and like just kind of like bringing life back in. So it's like good simple example. Another one, I I became lucid, and in this dream I asked to heal issues in myself around shame, and I was transported to this place. It was like a military warehouse where they were like building machinery and weapons and stuff, and it was like dark and dreary and raining and all these things, and like I went inside, and it's like it's fluid. I'm not like thinking super clearly. I had no plan of doing this, but I get to this place and I notice inside it's just all men, like working, working, and so like that's like in myself some kind of imbalance, right? Or that's kind of how I perceived it. And so I said, can we bring some women into this place? And so immediately it was like there was like more of a gender balance, and it felt just like more warm and open and like colorful and lively and all this stuff. And then beyond that, it was like it was the next day, like it was light, it was morning, and in this machinery, which had just been like weapons and stuff, and now it has like flowers and vegetables growing and like all this color and life, and there's like women inside the warehouse cooking and stuff. So really nice. I woke up from that one feeling like it had been huge, and actually that one I really did have like a measurable benefit. I felt a lot better. Okay, and then one more I'll share is I had a dream I became lucid while at a Target, and in lucid dreams, there's a lot of characters that they seem kind of like waste of time. You try to talk to them, ask them questions, and it's just like not very helpful. So I try to kind of scan the scene and spot the people that seem like they know what's going on. And so I saw this guy at like a help desk, and his sign said the summoner. And I was like, okay, I'm going to that guy. And it was hard to stay lucid. I told him I wanted, just intuitively, I told him I wanted to um, summon my father who died when I was 15. And so he had me sign all this paperwork and stuff. Took a while waiting, just trying to maintain the state. And then finally, I'm transported to a bluff, and my father's there, and I'm like making eye contact with him. It feels so intense energetically, just like being blasted. But we proceeded to have a conversation about, things that I've had questions about, because he died when I was young, so like things about himself and how it influenced me, and like was it really like this, because I kind of have this hunch that it was, and he's kind of like confirming stuff, and like talking, and like he's sorry, and I'm forgive you, thank you, just really like this heart to heart kind of thing. So yeah, that's another example. So here you have it, kind of across the spectrum of where the dreams can go, and what you can do, like across your own spectrum, like what work you're willing to get up to in that space. I uh, I hope that this can be helpful to people who want to embark on this kind of practice. I think it's hugely has a huge potential for benefit. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.